Guys, it's Nick from FordInsideNews.com. I'm inside our 2012 Ford Focus SEL Hatchback tester. Going to give a brief overview of the interior because this is one of the most definite high points of this car. We'll go ahead and start with the gauge cluster. Perhaps the most shocking aspect of this car is that it actually comes with a color driver information center. As you can see, it's kind of a lighter version of the full-blown My Ford Touch that's on the Edge, Explorer, and upcoming 2013 Taurus and Flex. Overall, it's an awesome little screen. It gives you all of their trip information, odometer, timer, distance until empty, fuel economy, everything you could ever want is right here. This screen also is utilized to change settings for My Key, which is if you have children driving the car and you want to limit their speed and their radio volume and basically neuter the car experience for the children. So all of that's done here in the awesome color DIC, and of course the analog gauges flank both sides of the color screen, and honestly the gauges are a little boring looking compared to the rest of the interior. I'm a little surprised because recently Ford's gauge clusters have been pretty extravagant. One that comes to mind to me is the Fusion, the 2010 Fusion. When it launched, it had an electrolucent gauge cluster, and this Focus doesn't have that, and I'm a little surprised. Moving on to the steering wheel, which is typically not something worth noting in an interior review. However, the standout point with this car is that there are literally, I counted them, 19 buttons on the steering wheel. I think that says a couple things about this car. One, it's packing a whole lot of technology, and two, it's mostly convenient as long as you can adjust to having so many buttons on your steering wheel. Obviously over here you have the cruise control, which all totally makes sense. Then this whole D-pad here with the OK button in the center, that is exclusively for the driver information center that I just showed you earlier, and that takes up a lot of space, of course, on the wheel, where the cruise control typically would be there. On this side we have the audio controls, we have seek, and then volume up and down, and then this is source. However, I'm not quite sure what the M stands for. I believe it's media. And then down here we have possibly the most unique buttons. The voice button is a forwards pushing button on the back of the wheel, and then on the front are the phone controls and favorites. So you can literally control the entire My Ford Touch infotainment system right from the steering wheel, which is good and bad. They've done a nice job. I mean, it's a small steering wheel, so it is kind of impressive that they've managed to stick 19 buttons on it, and it actually looks decent and doesn't look horribly busy. Moving on to the center stack, I guess I should talk about the entire dash, because I've spent a lot of time with the Cruise, and I noted that it had hard plastic dash. This car is very soft to the touch, very squeezable material. As you can see, very pliable. It feels very high quality. The dash material does, and overall the entire design is evokes quite a bit of quality out of it. Through the center stack, of course, you've got your plastic, which totally makes sense. And of course the 8-inch My Ford Touch display. This is the exact same display that's in all the other My Ford Touch vehicles, and it's also obviously the exact same interface, so I'll spare you going through all of the details with it. Now I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, does My Ford Touch operate better in this car? Yes and no. I've had a little bit of hiccups with it, but overall it has functioned. In my previous experience with My Ford Touch and my Lincoln Touch is kind of mixed. Some of them just would not operate at all, some wouldn't read USB players, and all kinds of issues. However, this one has been functioning. I have been using it, and it's certainly a system that when it works, it's great, but it does have hiccups still. hopefully it's something that Ford will eventually work the kinks out of. The only thing I'm going to note about my Ford Touch is that I am amazed that in my $24,000 Focus tester I can do this. 5-day weather forecast. And you'll see there's still a little bit of lag in the system. However, I just find it remarkable that a $24,000 compact car is now giving you live weather. And as you can see, it's scorching hot here today. Not cool. Moving on down here to the audio controls. This car is equipped with a Sony 10-speaker surround sound system, and first off, it's an excellent system. Definitely the best I've experienced in a compact car, including Cruise and Elantra. And for as busy as the steering wheel may be, they've kept the center stack extremely simple, which seems to be a trend with all Ford vehicles now. And there's very few buttons. All of them are physical buttons. They are not capacitive touch like the Edge and Explorer. And on down you have a really basic standard dual zone climate control, which the dual zone part is a welcome touch in a small car and kind of unique in the segment. They have improved the air conditioner in this car tremendously. I spend a lot of time with a last generation Focus, and the air conditioner was a rather weak point of the car. However, this one's terrific. So this is kind of an interesting design down here with the shift knob. It's in a unique position as far as being kind of tilted on the dash a little, but it's great for ergonomics. I find it to be in a great position where it's at. You've got a little toggle switch on the side of it to shift the transmission when it's in sport mode. I'd probably prefer paddle shifters, but considering there's already 19 buttons on the steering wheel, we probably wouldn't want to add any more. And of course we also have the typical My Ford Touch setup here in the center console. We've got 2 USB ports, SD card slot, and RCA ports. Now the SD card slot is filled from the factory because this car was equipped with a navigation system. For $795 you buy that SD card slot, stick it in, and as long as you have My Ford Touch you can add navigation to your car after the factory installation, which is convenient for a lot of people, but somewhat unique. But overall it's a terrific interior. The seats are a certain high point for this car. I haven't talked much about them. However, the fabric's nice, and I'm not big. I typically prefer leather, but the seat design's great. Good ergonomics. They're very comfortable, much more comfortable than the previous Focus. Interior space is decent. Up front it's fine, but in the back it is a little tight, but it's no tighter than the Cruise and Elantra, to be honest. And keep in mind this is a hatchback model. So I think my favorite part of the Focus interior is really the dash design, because this car was obviously designed for Gen Y, because I mean, just looking at the design, one word that comes to mind for me is techno. It's very techno looking design. So very happy with it. Really enjoy the car. And that's the interior of the 2012 Focus. Okay, we're going to talk about the ride and handling of the 2012 Focus. So let me get going here. As everyone probably already knows, this car is equipped with Ford's new dual clutch automatic transmission, 6-speed. It is kind of a point of contention with the car. In an otherwise amazing driving car, it tends to hesitate a lot, the transmission does. And I mean, yes, it's supposed to act like a manual transmission, but the hesitation and some of the things it exhibits, to me, is beyond what it should be doing. Aside from that, the car handles remarkably well. It definitely bests the Cruise in handling, and as you can see, it's a fun little car to drive. I bet you probably noticed the transmission lag that just happened when I accelerated quickly. That's pretty much standard fare when the transmission's in drive. Now I can knock the transmission down to sport mode, and I swear it literally reads your mind. If you are a performance-minded driver, you will love sport mode. Quite honestly, you should probably just drive in it all the time, because it really is a much better programming than normal drive mode. Ride quality is excellent. It's a little sportier than most of the segment. It's definitely sportier than the Cruise. By that I mean it's a little more firm, the suspension is, and but on the flip side, it's just as quiet as the Cruise, if not quieter. You get a little bit of road noise from what I think is coming through the footwells, at least it sounds like it, but other than that, you don't get a whole lot of noise in the car. Power output is okay. This direct injection 2-liter it's more than adequate for the car. However, I honestly, it does not feel any faster than the turbocharged Cruise, despite it being faster on paper. Like I said, the engine handles the car well, but it's you always want more, I guess, and that's kind of my attitude with it. But overall, really remarkably driving car. Few complaints other than the kind of quirky transmission in normal mode, and that's about my only complaint with the drive of the Focus. So until next time.